All right, Entree Architect community, it's 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for the Entree Architect Context and Clarity Book Club
Mhm.
conversation for, I had to think through that one for a minute, for Friday, January 27th. When you get here, say hi, let us know that you're here, and let us know where here is for you. Where are you joining this conversation from? If we've never met before, my name is Jeff. And I come here every weekday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern for one reason, so that we can find clarity around the things that matter most to you, the architect. Doesn't matter if you're the employee of a firm or you own your own firm.
Mm-mm.
Maybe you've circled a date on the calendar. It's that time. It's date circling time again. And you say, hey, I'm 2023 is my year and I'm on the runway to starting my own thing. Or maybe you have owned your own firm for a year or 15 years or 27 years.
I got 27 again, 2 days in a row.
You're starting to rethink or reimagine what that firm could or maybe even should be. All of the topics that we cover, one topic every day, they all fall under the broad umbrella of the business of architecture, and they're all the need to know topics for the success of entrepreneur architects just like you. So thanks for joining us today. I am joined again by my co-host, Catherine McPhail. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, Jeff. I am thrilled that I got 2 days in a row of 27 years because that's me. And then I was just realizing
Congratulations.
2026, when you say 2026, your year, and everybody's blah, blah, the whole thing, it's going to be 30 years, which is a fully grown adult human
Well,
age.
27 is fairly grown as well.
Yeah, okay. No, but it really is going to be really grown when they're 30.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah, you're right. 27 is, now I feel a little differently about it.
well, I don't know what book we'll be reading 3 years from now,
Your
but
book, hopefully, Jeff. Are you working on your book yet?
I'm always working on a book. They never seem to go anywhere.
Well, maybe we'll read it in
2023 is
2026.
your year, my year, our year.
Your year. Have you
Yeah.
circled a date on the calendar?
No, I don't have a calendar. If I don't, I did that once, but then I had to figure out a way to get Sharpie marker off of my monitor over here.
Okay.
Sorry about that. All right, with that, hey, Janine's first in the room today. Welcome back from Arizona, Janine. Since you're first in, that means you're the winner of today's John Kinney Memorial Crocheted Bathtub Award. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Jefferson from LA, glad you're here. Mark R. LePage, not to be confused with the
Definitely
other
not to
Mark
be
LePage
confused.
on
It's
the
just
internet.
Mark LePage.
Yoko, hello and happy Friday to you as well. In Alexandria, Virginia, and Wendy Brown in Western Massachusetts. Jessica in Los Angeles as well. Janine says, I haven't been out of college 27 years. Can't
All
wait to
right.
say
All right.
I've had my firm for 27 years.
Well,
Now I'm doing
uh,
math in my head. I don't know.
well, yeah. I don't know when I graduated from college, so I mean I know, but I can't do the math right now. It changes all the time. It's hard to keep up with it.
What changes all the time?
The date and the math, right?
That you
So
graduated from college?
know how many years it's been.
Oh, I see.
So I have to keep up with it.
Next, I thought it was going to be the college you went to, where you worked, and all of those kind of things, but that apparently only happens to politicians. Anyway, um, welcome back.
I never thought of making up every single fact of my life, and maybe I should just write it down just for fun.
It's
What
called
would I
embellishment.
I think I have a perfectly good life the way it is, though. I mean, I'm the co-host of this awesome thing that I do with you. I get to read these business books and really think about how AI it will play into my life when the machines come, as you said. I think that's what you said at the end.
I did. I did.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Catherine is she's referencing if you missed this. Well, first of all, welcome. Um, we're going to discuss a book today. This the final Friday of every month is our context and clarity book club discussion. So all month we've been reading a book, and what I have decided to do is record short videos to summarize the book in case you didn't read it. So I've done that. And you can find those videos in 3 different places. One, you can find them in the Entree Architect Network, network.entrearchitect.com. You can find them on my TikTok account, or you can find them on the Context and Clarity Instagram page. And I guess they're called Reels at that point. So I finally, right, just in under the wire, I recorded and uploaded the final video in the series, and I did mention AI. I did tie Will Guidara's Unreasonable Hospitality. That's been our book. I pull it back here. Let me move back. There it is. Will
That's it.
Guidara's Unreasonable Hospitality to the Rise of the Machines. So I'm sure
That
we'll
was
get
pretty
into that.
brilliant. I think we should do that every month. Not that last week. Last month, what did we read?
Proximity Principle by Ken Coleman.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think maybe we could just do as a fun exercise, attaching, connecting our book from this month. Oh, there you go. This month to last month. You have to be near somebody to give them a gift. So that's how I just connected it. Done.
Yeah, there you go. This is a great application. All
But I
right,
did
let's
I
see.
did appreciate how you're right about the AI, AI connection, and that is hopefully what we have over the machines, is that we can think about other
Yeah,
people and think about what they might like.
yeah, yeah. If you haven't watched the video yet, I basically so so honestly, I ran out of time. I started summarizing chapters and sections of chapters, and I ran out of time to get all of these videos recorded and posted. So I just gave my sort of overall summary of the book, and to give just a little bit of background on the book, in case you're not familiar, Will Guidara used to be co-owner of the restaurant 11 Madison Park in New York, one of the best known, best restaurants in the world. And this book, as the title says, Unreasonable Hospitality, it's Unreasonable Hospitality, the remarkable power of giving people more than they expect. But
Mhm.
before you shut it down and say, hey, what does that have to, I don't run a restaurant, I don't run a hotel, I'm not in hospitality, what does this have to do with architecture? I think it's got a lot. I think it has an awful lot to do with architecture. We can discuss that. But um, but ultimately, when Will is talking about hospitality, he's talking about deep connections between human beings. And that's where the AI, to me, that's where the AI comes in. If we're worried about AI, if we think, oh, AI is going to do this, that, or the other, my question will be, will AI create, develop, facilitate, sustain deep connections between humans, like
Maybe.
you and your client? So that's my question.
Maybe.
It might. Don't know.
I'm not very good
Maybe
at it
that,
myself,
that
to be
plug in
honest. I'm a little,
deep connections
reading.
with humans.
Yeah, not very good at that. I'm okay with that, but I'm not so good at getting them gifts. And I don't know if anybody has
Mm,
any reading chapter 18 that Mark had said, if you don't read anything else, read chapter 18. So I made sure to read it and note that that was chapter 18. But thinking about perfect gifts, thinking about the person and what they might like, and then getting them the gift is one of the worst. I am horrible at that. What does that
that
mean? Why am I so horrible at it? I don't know. I'm just horrible at it. So if anyone has any tips.
Yeah, I don't know. That actually came up today in Clubhouse when we were talking, discussing the book. Um, James Polk mentioned that. He talked about a gift that he had gotten one of his clients this year, and it was a painting,
Mhm,
um, I guess a custom painting for them, and he said, ultimately, the cost of it was not outrageous, but he said the impact of it was so much more than going and buying, and I'm not knocking gifts that anybody else is giving, but it was personalized,
mhm.
right? It was thoughtful and personal just for that client. And yeah, I don't think everybody is good at thoughtful gifts like that.
Mm.
And so, that may certainly be a challenge when we're thinking about hospitality. But I think, this book is a lot of this book, even though he talks about management and he talks about building culture, and he gives examples of hospitality in his world, in the restaurant world, ultimately comes down to connecting with people and developing empathy for people. And I do think that many architects are quite empathetic. I wonder, how do you serve clients if you're not? But yeah, I don't know about the gift giving. There's a quote I was trying to remember. He said, what do you say? Gifts should be awesome or something. It was
Yeah, no pressure. That's what I mean. There's so much
yeah, none.
pressure. Like, well, that's not awesome. I can't get them that thing. Something that would be really perfect and touching. I don't know. I feel like I have empathy for people, and maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. I cannot. I don't like gift giving. I love giving a gift, but I don't like the pressure of it not being a perfect gift.
Mm.
Not perfect, but even like meaningful. I don't know what my problem is, but anyway, Wendy says that I need to check in with myself after an encounter. I don't know what that means, though.
After a close encounter, or what?
I don't have a kind of encounter, an encounter with people.
Aliens. Um, if you were commenting away right now, and it looks we've got a lot of great comments here, and we'll get to them momentarily. But if you're commenting and your comment isn't showing up on the screen here with us, go to chat.restream.io. Look in the lower left hand corner of the screen right now. Chat.restream.io/FB. And a couple of clicks later, you can give Facebook permission to let your comments out. And those permissions do expire, by the way. So if you've said, "Hey, I've done that before," it may have expired by now. I don't know how these things work. It's above my pay grade, but
Mm,
but I know it. You do have to renew the permissions at times. So
hmm.
chat.restream.io/FB
Speaking
will
of
solve
customer
all of your problems.
experience, why do they make us keep doing that? Why can't we just do it once?
I'm
Anyway.
thinking legal gets involved there. I think the legal department probably gets involved.
Hmm. Okay.
I'm not sure. Yoko says she got in just under the wire. She watched those. Oh, and the videos, I think, are just under the wire. She watched them.
Yeah.
So hopefully the videos helped. Janine graduated in 2000, so her math is easy.
Yeah. See, that's easy. I was 88, which isn't easy. So it's really just 12 plus whatever. I should just remember the 12 and I'll be all set.
Okay.
So 35 years this May.
I don't have enough fingers.
How's that possible? 35? I guess it is.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, it is possible. John, welcome back from Overcast, Westport, Connecticut. Says, I didn't read the book. That would be unreasonable. However, I did read the one-page online blurb that the grouchy architect was kind enough to share earlier today, so he's ready. Okay, let's share it with us. Let's see. Let's see
Yeah. What
what
was
it
in the
says.
blurb?
Yeah, I don't
I didn't
know.
read that.
I'll have to go find it. John says, I would think AI will be able to write empathetic emails and make human connections. I
Hmm.
think we were already there, but certainly a human review is required. So, right, you just put the human back into it,
Hmm.
right, with the human review.
Well,
And
you write it down after the AI writes it. You write it on a
yeah.
card and then you send it to your
Oh,
mom.
I see.
That's how that
That's it.
goes.
So the AI is not going to be able to reproduce handwriting.
Mm,
Um, I think another important lesson, and we mentioned this earlier, and Wendy had a good correction when I said this earlier, but there's a story at the beginning of the book about making the best 50 restaurants in the world list. And hopefully, I keep assuming that everybody can identify with this, but I think a lot of people say, "Hey, I'm really good at this," or "I'm really qualified at this." And you may be aiming that at your at other architects, or you may be aiming that at home designers, unlicensed home designers, or whatever. whoever the enemy is, I guess.
Enemy.
The enemy.
Do we have
You
to
got to
have
have an
enemies?
enemy. You got to have an enemy.
Can't we love everybody?
No,
Okay.
I think we're proving that's not the case. Um,
I know you've
as
had a rough
hard as we
day.
try, as
Okay.
hard as we try, yeah. But the story, I run across this a lot. Hey, we're really good at this. Why don't we get hired for this? Or um, we may secretly say I'm better at this than they are. But the story was that 11 Madison Park made the top 50 list for the first time, and they went to this awards program and were trying to guess where they were going to be on the list. And I was aiming much higher in my memory.
Hmm.
They weren't thinking like top 2 or 3. It was down 30 and 45 or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe much more reasonable, but they're thinking, where are we going to be? Because they're really good. Their service is really good. Their ingredients, their menu, all those things are really, really good. And then they start at the bottom, and number 50 is 11 Madison Park. And so they end up in last place.
But worst of all, they end up on the jumbotron looking so
Yes.
depressed about it,
Yes.
or sad.
Yeah, that's an important part of the story. You
Yeah.
can picture that, right? And that was a point, and I think this is the part that maybe we can take away from as well, is that was the point when they realized that just being really, really good isn't good enough.
Yep.
So what do you do to stand out? What do you do to they obviously, there's a book about it now, which we have been reading this month. Hospitality became their thing. Translate that to architecture. What's that mean? Or client experience, I suppose.
Hmm.
Right. Um, I think about the fact that you're going to rely somehow on repeat clients and or referrals, or both. Yeah. And or, um, right. If you're not memorable, if you're not doing something, if you're not providing a client experience that's worthy of being recommended or referred, that's that's got to be a serious pain there.
Yeah. Well, I keep thinking about what that could possibly be, and then when he was in chapter 18, when he said, tote bag or a thumb drive with your logo on it, like, do better, people. What he said, and I
Yeah.
thought, oh, I better cancel my
I
order
can't
at
throw
tote
all those
bags.
those thumb drives away.
Yeah. But I can't. I feel like I don't know whether I just need a book that tells me how to be a good gift giver, if there's a book like that. Which is kind of, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I guess it's like how to think about other people in a way. But I
Th
don't know why I can't do it.
There is a book. I've heard it. I have not read it, but I have heard it recommended before when we have these kind of, what do you buy for your clients
Mm,
during the holidays?
hmm.
Maybe somebody knows what that book is.
No, I'm just going to ask Chat GPT because they know everything.
Well, just ask Chat GPT what gifts you should give.
Right. That's what I mean. What gift
Yeah,
should I give?
got it.
What gift
Yeah.
should an architect give a nutritionist? Is one
But
of my
yeah,
clients
yeah,
a
it's got to be
nutritionist.
it's got to be specific.
Like,
Yeah.
sure, I shouldn't give him chocolate, probably.
Dark chocolate. Mark Zweig. Hi, Mark Zweig. He says people are afraid to be different. They don't want to do anything that isn't proven to work. Yeah, I think that's really true. And there's maybe the link between these comments is that, and it's not. I think Will is quoting somebody else when he says this in the book, but he talks about, this is actually a chapter or a subheading in a chapter. It's um, oh, I just forgot it. One size fits one,
Yeah, yeah, yep.
meaning it's
Meaning,
not one size fits all, obviously.
right, like the tote bag.
Right.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if this would count as something an architect could send out. I think my major reservation about it is that if I send out gifts at the end of the year, right? But if I just send out, like, like make them a pie for solstice, like let's say I make them a lemon pie and bring it over at the summer solstice, but I haven't done my drawings. They might wonder, why didn't you just do your drawings instead of making me this pie? Because
Yeah.
so I'd have to be really, really on top of everything else for me to be able to get away with making them stuff. But what if you sent them articles about something that's related to their interest or their project? Just, a link to a thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all got to work together,
Mhm.
right? And at some point today or yesterday, I don't even remember. It's all kind of running together. Um, 11 Madison Park. Take that into context. First of all, obviously they're talking about a restaurant, so there are some fundamental differences there.
Yeah.
Um, I believe he says at some point there are like 140 tables
Mm.
at 11 Madison Park. So this is not a small operation, right? In all of these. I've never worked in restaurants. I hope to never work in restaurants. Um, so I don't know. Um, I understand servers and bussers, and I've
You've been to
learned about.
restaurants.
I've been to a couple of
Yeah.
restaurants. I've never been to 11 Madison Park, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of people, and that's a big part of this book as well. Is how to create a culture, how to care for each other as well as caring for the customers or clients, whatever you call them, how to be a manager, how to be a leader. There's all those aspects of the book, which are really, really important. But at the end of the day, a lot of us are so sole practitioners, or we have small firms, maybe a couple of people.
Mhm.
So how do we take these things and say, okay, I don't have a 140 table restaurant. I've got a one person or a 3-person firm or something like that. How do we scale this in some way? And and I think overall the point for our world, just like their world, has to start with the minute someone walks through the proverbial door.
Yeah.
So it's the maybe it's the first inquiry and the first meeting and the onboarding and all of those different aspects, because those are things that I know fall by the wayside in a lot of firms. Just the experience of the process. Um, so I think that's a big part of it, and certainly gifts and all these other ancillary things that we can talk about. But I mean, even if we just made the experience of the work,
Mm.
going to the Maya Angelou quote,
Yeah.
people won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time you say that, I remember this time where I know I made somebody feel really awful, and I feel awful every time you say that because she said something. I don't even want to say what it was, but I said something about what I really thought about one of my clients' ideas.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You
I
said
mean,
it
I
out
didn't
loud.
say what I said it out loud. I said, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen," and not exactly that way.
Mhm. Well, there's a chapter for that too.
Oh, is there?
Being
I missed
being
that part.
right is irrelevant.
Well, it just came out of me. It was just a long meeting, it just came out, but I always think of that when, you say that because I made her feel pretty bad probably. I mean, I apologize right there for making her feel bad. It was a really dumb idea, though.
Oh man. Let's see. Let me jump over to the comments here. Scott says a day of liquid sunshine on the Oregon coast. Welcome back, Scott. Glad the sun finally made it out over there. Let's see. Wendy says one of her talking about gifts, except for one of her clients, she brought her tomatoes from her garden. She has a cat and dog, maybe dog treats or catnip, and she likes
Mhm.
giraffes. All right. So why did you stop after she likes giraffes? Because now I'm really wondering, did you get her a giraffe? Where did we go after
Well,
that? I
you could
don't know.
get all sorts of giraffe things. You might see, like, a giraffe stuffed animal or a giraffe mug or a giraffe
Yeah,
towel or a
yeah,
giraffe everything.
but a real giraffe would be unreasonable.
That would be unreasonable and unwelcome.
Uh, yeah, probably. Jessica says she's also a bad gift bad gift giver. Her husband's birthday is Sunday, and she got him a cake. Hey,
That's
I'd be
good.
good for cake.
Yeah.
Let's see. Marcus Weig said, I asked ChatGPT why anyone should listen to me on the subject of entrepreneurship. I'm afraid to know what that answer was. Probably, it might have said, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
Um,
I probably don't know you well enough to tell you the answer.
yeah, it's if you've played with ChatGPT at all, um, it's to me it's interesting to see where the holes in the information are. Let's see. Mark R. LePage said, a big takeaway from this book for me is that designing and executing on the client experience is the most important thing we can do. It's more important than everything else we do, including great design and coordinated. Oh, he's baiting me. Um, including great design and coordinated CDs. As
Mm,
machines and competitive industries continue to encroach on our profession, the way we interact human to human is the one thing that differentiates us from others.
hmm. I guess that reminds me. Maybe I should send a Friday afternoon check-in email to everybody.
Maybe you should.
Why not? It's Friday.
Yeah. Mark Zweig says touch points. That what if what if there was a weekly touch point that was just super simple, but hey, here's where we are. Have a great weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to start expecting that every week. That seems like a lot.
That's part of
I
the
know it's
book,
a
right?
lot.
You have
I
to
know.
develop this practice. Yeah. Um,
Mm,
the in response to Mark R. LePage, um, yeah, when we got this idea that a great project, as in the product,
mm-hmm.
hey, we go through this whole process, and if there's a great project at the end, then the client's going to be happy. Or when we got this idea that being on time, on budget, and having really great, um, detailed, coordinated construction documents, like that's right. That's what the client values.
Yeah, that's what they'll talk to their friends about. Those really well coordinated construction documents.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to offend anybody, but um, that's what your clients expect, right? I mean,
It's like code minimum.
it is. It really is. It's we some of we did this kitchen project here in our house, and we hired somebody to lay the floor tile, and I having them do a good job, you know, ha- all the tiles laid out, and a quality job, that wasn't to be celebrated, right? That was to be expected,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
yeah, I mean, we really have to think about that. So when again, back to competition, other architects, um, the human connection is not in doing the great job or the coordinated CDs or all of this thing. It's what is this experience like for them? Um, I always say, your one job is making your client's life better. How are you doing that? And it's one size fits one, right? At that point, I don't know what it means to make somebody's life better, because it's going to be different from this one to that one. But yeah, we have to be really we have to really understand what the cost, what the expectation, what the price of entry is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I know you read all of the comments in order, but Yoko says that her construction manager and GC clients do mention her CDs, which I imagine they would because they actually look at them. Whereas I'm saying that the
Yeah, yeah,
clients don't as much. Client homeowners don't.
yeah. But I still think you want to take that a step further.
Hmm.
And that is true. That's going to be different than, and every client's different. But a homeowner client, yeah, I would think the GC and construction manager clients would also have that as an expectation, but maybe their experiences with architects in the past haven't lived up to that.
Mhm.
But then what else are we doing in terms of that experience of working with you? Maria says, I was thankful to the engineering firm who brought us baklava every Christmas season. Yeah, I would be too.
Do you like baklava, Jeff?
I really do like baklava.
Okay. Note to self.
It's nice to give a gift, and it's really good for you too. It's nice to give a
Why? Because
gift
of the
that
honey
can
and
be
nuts?
shared in the office as opposed to a gift solely for the owners. Yeah, unless you're trying to kill the owners off. Do you like baklava?
No, I don't. Me? Do I?
Yeah.
No, I
Mhm.
don't. It's too
Okay.
sticky.
Yeah,
There's no way to eat it without your hands getting sticky. I don't like that so much.
there
Just
is.
me.
It's called a fork.
You don't eat baklava with a fork, though, do you? You
the
don't just
I
mash it
had
in
a
your face with your hands?
no, I use a
Mm,
fork.
that would do
I had a
it.
cultural anthropology class in college, and one of the things you could do was make a there were different versions of this, but one thing was like you could make a I suppose a cultural meal, and somebody made baklava, demonstrated in class how to make baklava, and they brought ouzo and all this, and
Mm,
we had a gay old time. It
yeah.
was good. And then you saw, oh, yeah, that's health food right there.
You saw it firsthand. Well,
Yep.
bringing baklava or something like that, especially if it's a family tradition or recipe, I think
Mhm.
it's nice to share your own thing
Sure. Yeah, I
if
would
you
agree.
have an interesting thing.
Personal. Mark
Mhm.
says, if you haven't read this book for the book club, make reading this book a priority. It's very well written. It's a fantastic story and maybe the most important book you read this year.
Well,
Yeah.
it is only January.
Hey.
I mean, who knows what's next in this year? But okay, a couple things we talked about in Clubhouse, but that I really liked about this book, and if I had employees, or I do have people who work for me, I guess. So it's not quite the same, but how he developed his team and how he developed enthusiasm and ownership in his team. I thought that was
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said earlier, there's a lot in here about building a culture and managing people and being a leader. And, I know there are some in our community that don't have and don't want to have employees, but um, if that's not the case for you, there's a lot. I mean, I think he touches on, questions of, what about younger people that are coming or less experienced people that are coming into the profession. We could frame it that way, and um, giving I don't know the way I really want to say that, but letting younger people, giving them autonomy, giving them the ability to try things um, and take ownership of things. Like Mark said, and like you said, I mean, there's a lot of great stories in here,
Hmm.
um, and I think um, he's got a lot of really great tips.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was surprised about because I have not worked in the restaurant industry either was that the person who's in charge of wine is essentially in charge of all drinks, basically.
Yeah,
So that would include wine, which you can see somebody being very good at that, but then not caring much about beer and tea and coffee. So then he targeted, I guess, he found people who are obsessed with those things and put them in charge of those things so that they had the best coffee and the best way of making coffee and the most theatrical way of making it tableside. And the whole experience was the great coffee or tea or whatever it is, having these people be obsessed with
yeah,
this thing.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point. And so if again, you may not have employees, and That's fine. Not everybody needs to have employees, I guess. But if you did, how would you apply that in the architecture office? How would you break down tasks or responsibilities, roles, so that because you see that all the time is here's something that's really passionate about this, they're really good at this,
Mhm.
and it's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So who can you find for the other pieces of the puzzle that have their own particular passions and then how transformative could that be? Especially, I mean, in his case, he was focused on young people because that really kind of fit what they were trying to do. How do we take fine dining and make it more um, accessible and uh, uh, relatable to younger generations?
Mhm.
And that's as you said, beer and coffee and the different other, I guess, drink programs. Um, how transformative could that be to a young person in your firm that they might have ownership over a piece of the puzzle
Yeah, I
that
think it would be
happens to be
huge.
one? Yeah,
It would
yeah,
be big for the morale of the team too, because that person gets to be the expert in the thing that
mhm,
they are really, really interested in.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if it's appliances, like somebody who's really into appliances, if they know everything about, you have a certain amount of money to spend on the package, then what are the best of that? I mean, I can
right,
see that being important.
right. And I guess as we're talking about this never is never mentioned this way in the book, but what came to my mind was, okay, well, I'm really into appliances. I'm going to be the person that does the research and picks the appliances on every one of these projects. That doesn't mean we're pigeonholing them,
Mhm.
right? It means that we're giving them ownership of that piece and letting them really grow that piece and exercise their passion and all of that. But it's not like, hey, the only thing you ever do is
Right.
pick
Right.
appliances. So
Because
I
wasn't
think
he
we need
saying
to
that
be maybe clear about that.
yeah, wasn't he saying that those people he always hired people and had them work as the food runners from the beginning, no matter what their eventual position would be. So for 3
Yeah.
years, I think they had to go deliver the food.
Yeah.
It's a long time. And, but it was the food runner who became wasn't it the food runner who became the beer expert? So he was one of the guys who was a food runner at the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but you're right.
Yeah.
If you get the chance to work on something that you're really passionate, all those people who say that if you love your work, you'll never work a day in your life, which we all know is not failure. Anyway, but they might have that feeling about work. It might make them love their work more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see
Yeah.
that applying to architects easily.
Yeah. I think there's a lot. There is. Janine says they won't talk about well coordinated CDs, but they will talk about the great construction experience they had thanks to your well coordinated CDs or how you went to bat for them when issues came up. Yeah. I mean, that's the experience part,
Hmm.
right? Um, let's see. I've lost track of where I am in the comments, but
I think I ruined that for
some
you.
baklava talk here.
People love baklava. I mean,
Mhm.
I'll leave more for you. That's a good thing that I don't like it. It's just too sticky and sweet. I just don't like it sticky and sweet. So I'd rather have, I don't know, something else.
Chocolate.
Mm, chocolate. I'm not that excited about chocolate, but
I know. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes over here. Two, I guess I gravitated towards two number type things. There was the rule of 95/5.
yeah, I love that. I love that. Even you could apply that in your own personal finances.
Hmm.
Hmm?
Yeah, yeah. So what is it? It's you're by the book. Is that I
Hmm.
don't know if that's the right way to say it, but
Well, you're
you're
kind of
by the book for
frugal
95%.
95% of the time. Right?
Say that again. Yeah,
Frugal,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
keeping your budget 95% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way that, I was kind of working that out in my head, the way I kind of equated it was because not everything that we do is about, I mean, there's a ton of spending, right, in restaurants and that's not necessarily the case in an architecture office. So
Mhm.
to me, it was kind of like having all the systems in place and making sure that we're doing everything, and it may be, the budget, the quote unquote budget on 95%, but then leaving you the 5% that you can sort of go wild with, I
Mhm.
guess, and really make that impact.
What did he call them? The dream weavers? Is that what he called those people who made the dreams? I think it
Oh,
was Dream. I thought it was Dream. Oh yeah, it was because it was from that song Dreamweaver because that's the first time he kissed a girl was when that was playing. So it is Dreamweaver.
yes, yep.
Yeah, so but I thought things like eavesdropping on someone's conversation saying all I need is $1 million to get this thing off the ground and then they gave him a bag of the $100,000 bars.
Mm.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
could do that. I mean, I could if they need an extra $500,000 for their job, I could just get come next time. I don't think that would go over very
Just
well.
buy a case of, yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
instead of cutting down on the scope or whatever, I'm just gonna bring them
candy
$500,000 bars.
bars. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they might not
But I
like
think
that.
that's a good, whether or not that's appropriate for your clients. I think it's a good example though. The level of detail and the amount of attention that is paid to the customers in their restaurant, from asking them where they parked,
Mhm,
and going and paying the parking meter for them, to the story about the sleds in Central Park, to candy bars,
mhm. To
um,
hangover packages.
hangover packages. I was listening to an interview with Will Guidara, and they were talking about sort of, and this reminded me of a professor of mine because he was always about, um, oh, how did he put it? He was always about how you experienced space, from where you entered, what it was like, how you entered, that type of thing, and what the experience of the space was. And so this reminded me of Daniel Doze. If you're out there, Dozer, um,
Dozer.
the the person that that was interviewing him asked him about that experience of walking um, into the restaurant. And Will said that he took inspiration from, you go to a restaurant, and there's a hostess stand or host stand, and all this, and they've got the seating chart and blah blah blah, versus you go to somebody's house and they open the door and they greet you, and they invite you into their home, and that's the way he wanted 11 Madison Park to be like. Feel like you're going into someone's home and starting with that level of personal connection. That's unreasonable hospitality, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah, unreasonable, especially because there are 139 other tables in there, so it wouldn't exactly feel like
Yeah,
it's someone's home,
yeah.
but
And then the stories about making notes
Mm,
about customers, I guess assuming that they're going to come back, but having, if I requested something, or there's a story about, that was the part, being right is irrelevant. Someone ordered a medium rare steak,
mm,
I guess it was steak, um, and then said it wasn't cooked right,
mm,
and the server unfortunately defended themselves, and said, well, actually, and they weren't wrong, actually, this is medium rare, but what you're asking for, what you're describing, is medium. So that's a lesson in itself. But then the idea of making a note in the whatever their system is about that customer, that says, hey, they order medium rare, but what they really want is
mm,
medium. So
mhm.
next time they came, there would be no confusion.
Yeah,
Um, that it's
that is next level.
next level connection.
Well, that kind of reminds me of a discussion we had where we talked about whether if you have a client who calls columns beams, Should you call them columns and say these are actually columns, or call them beams so that they feel more comfortable? Even though you could confuse yourself that way. But um, yeah, I think a good way to practice this, maybe if someone like me, as anyone else feels like I do, that need more practice. I think Mark, that's why I said it takes a while to get that practice. So maybe just
Mhm.
practicing with people I already care about who wouldn't be weirded out from me giving them gifts or hospitality. So, my friends and family, I could try. I presumably know them well enough to think about what they might like.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to try that first.
yeah, yeah. That's Mark's point is a good one, definitely. I don't. I guess I never really paid attention to the timeline in this book, but it spans at least a decade,
Yeah, when
right?
in their
From
time frame did they go to that award ceremony? Was it right away when they became partners, or
no,
it was into
well,
the whole thing?
like owners,
Yeah.
um, maybe when they became owners, but there's so much that led up to that. The 2-star review, and then in the New York Times, I think, or New Yorker. I get it confused. The 2-star review, the 3-star review, the 4-star review, the first Michelin star. All of those things. So I'm not completely clear on. And there was another European designation that they got, and a lot of that's lost on me. But yeah, they it did take a lot, right? This was
Mhm.
years and years in the making.
Like how many years though? It had to have been at least 10, like you say, for them to get to number one on the top 50 list.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Of course, the top 50 is a preview, right? So he jumps he jumps that at the beginning, and then goes back to college. He starts telling the story of like his childhood and then college. What year did he take over as general manager at 11 Madison Park? Because he had been at MoMA. Um, I mean, I remember him talking about 2008, and they'd already been at it for several years. And then 2008 was several years before they got their 4-star, or at least a couple years before they got their 4-star.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So
I mean, it's got to be at least a decade.
so how old is he? He can't be all that old.
No, he's not. Well,
He
that
started
was
when he
one
was
of the
pretty
things.
young.
I was thinking that. It's like, well, how? Because talking about the time and amount of time at the restaurant and stuff. I'm like, gosh, this guy's married and he's got kids, and
Mhm.
then I think he became manager at or general manager at 11 Madison Park when he was like 23 or something.
Yeah, he was pretty young. Mark says
Yeah.
that they opened in '98 and it was number 1 in 2017.
Okay. And I don't know how long they were open before he got there, but
I have
been
to
a
say
while.
that Andrew talking about having gone there and spent $2,000 on dinner kind of ruined the rest of the book for me that I listened to, the part I listened to today.
Yeah, yeah. So for those of you that weren't on Clubhouse this morning, there was someone. Um, Andrew Major was in Clubhouse this morning, and he mentioned that he went. I think in the last couple of weeks, he went to 11 Madison Park, and he
Well,
it,
they're
it wasn't
vegan
the best
now.
experience.
No.
And it's important to remember, I guess, that this book is not necessarily related to 11 Madison Park today. He's not there anymore.
Mm.
The author's not there anymore. Not
Mhm.
co-owner anymore. Um, it has changed to um, a
Vegan.
vegan
Mhm.
restaurant, and so it's very different. But that was when he was there. That was part of their. I know we're right at the top of the hour. That was part of. I found this really interesting. Part of their DNA, I suppose, as well. They got a good review from a critic, and at the end of the review, I forget how many stars she gave them, but they seemed very pleased with the review. But at the end, she said they need more Miles Davis.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't know
this
what that
whole
meant.
right, this whole conversation about trying to figure out what the heck that meant, and the way that eventually played out was collaboration was a big one. Was one of their big words that came out of that retreat that you mentioned this morning. Um, but continually reinventing themselves, giving themselves the flexibility and all of this to continually reinvent themselves. Um, that I thought was besides being a Miles Davis fan, I thought that was a pretty amazing
Hmm.
section.
Yeah, no, it really was because they really had to rethink acting like Miles Davis, or I don't know how they put it uh, grammatically, but
Mm.
yeah, I mean that's rethinking. They really did kind of shake it up what they did.
Yeah.
Apparently, he just looked it up, and he I just looked it up, and whatever the what's the name guy who wrote it? Will and
Will. Yeah.
Daniel, is that his name? Anyway, they broke up or parted ways in 2019.
Yes. Yep. So through most of the story, Will's the author, right? He's telling the story. Daniel is the chef.
I didn't finish the book, by the way, so for all I know, it's at the very end of the book. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say
They
that.
they
Maybe
are
it was.
they are no longer working together.
Hmm.
So
Okay, another little point that I thought was a lovely touch was that they had a historian come out and tell them about everything they could see from their window of Central Park, so that
oh
if
yeah.
anybody commented on the view, that they knew
Hmm.
that the staff knew what was out there. That was,
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good.
You know, I think that's I hadn't thought about that before, but I think that's also an important point, right? Is it extreme to bring a historian out to for all of that? Yeah, maybe. Again,
Mm,
this is a very high end fine dining restaurant, but but at the same time, it's really little things.
yeah.
What does it mean to be able to when someone asks a question, "Hey, what's that over there?" or et cetera, to be able to carry on these types of conversations, that's that's not a hugely expensive or cumbersome thing to do. How does that translate to your firm, your office? Mark Zweig had a comment before about the condition of a lot of small offices, which I think was I've seen a lot of that as well. The appearance, we're talking about experience. A lot of what we're talking about, well, I guess all of what we're talking about is experience.
Hmm.
What are small things? Because a lot of what they focused on were small things that add up. There's a section what's every raindrops fill an ocean or something like that. That was more about finances, but
Mm,
a lot of small things, paying attention to small details, really add up in
hmm.
the end.
Yep. I guess, you could look up the history of, or you could learn a little bit about the history of the neighborhood if it's a house, let's say, and of the people who built the house and stuff
Yep.
like that. So that kind of adds another dimension, maybe
Yep.
that the people don't know. Also, they called their things that they did legends because people would talk about them and they'd become
Right.
legendary stories about
Yep.
there,
Yeah.
which I think is a great idea. I love that. Who doesn't
Yeah.
love having this thing happen to them that is such a great story that you can tell everybody you meet, even on a train to Paris or something? You will
Mhm.
tell everybody about this when it comes up in a reasonable conversation.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a
Well,
great idea.
yeah. I mean, go back to the lifeblood of architecture firms, right? If
Rich people.
repeat clients and
Oh,
referrals,
repeat,
repeat people, yeah.
repeat clients. I got it now.
Um, when that is the lifeblood of, it's not just architecture firms. You need people telling great stories about you. You
Hmm.
need an experience that people will remember. right?
Yeah.
There are very few things that you can control in that scenario. So the best thing that you can do is to give them the stories to tell,
Yeah.
is to create the memories that they're gonna pass on to somebody else. "Oh, hey,
Mhm.
you're gonna build a new house, or you're gonna remodel your kitchen," whatever it is, build a new, um, library, or, expand your office, whatever type of work you do. I had this fantastic let me tell you about this project that we did.
Yeah, and for okay, I think the next best would be no stories. They have no stories to tell about you, and then the absolute worst is bad stories about you.
Yeah,
That's like, at the very least, just avoid that. It's
yeah,
like, "Well, you're thinking of hiring that person? Well, let me tell you, I had to hire
yeah, don't
a
go there.
mediator to get her
Yeah,
to change my plans."
yeah, she gave me 5 $100,000 bars.
Just thought it was funny. That's
She
just cruel.
she laughed.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't do that because I would laugh.
Well, I know.
I'll do that for my
So here's
husband.
the
That'll be a funny joke for him.
Yeah, yeah, give it to him.
Yeah, he won't
The
fire
yeah,
me.
um, there's so much we could talk about in this book, and I agree with Mark. I think with Mark LePage, you need to read this book. I really do think um, this is the difference between, being a good architect and the person that everybody wants to hire. Jefferson made a comment a minute ago about basically the cost. Yeah, it's incredibly hard to relate to that. So how do we scale that appropriately? That's the test, right? That's the challenge here. Um, but I really do think we need to take inspiration from this. And again, if you want to, you can go watch the videos that I recorded, 6 of them total, on Instagram or TikTok or in the Entre Architect Network. It's probably more of the same of what we've been talking about, but I think it's a good book to read.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a good book. I mean, just and on its own, it was an entertaining book, and it had
Yeah, 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 yeah. The style of it,
yeah,
um, despite the fact that there are no fairy tales or whatever, um,
I know. Well,
will
that's what I was
it
expecting.
is it's a story. It's a story. He tells lots and lots of stories from his life, his career, his childhood, and
Mhm.
obviously what they created at 11 Madison Park. So
Yeah, seemed like it would have been a really great place to work for someone who's enthusiastic about that kind of work.
yeah, yeah, somebody that's into restaurant work.
Choreography. I can't get over that image of them delivering the soup and then taking the lids off.
Yes,
I do not get that at the restaurants I go
yeah.
to.
Yeah, exactly. I will say I've never been to a restaurant like that.
Step, step. The person in the back has to go faster. The person in the front has to go slower. And
Yeah,
they practiced and practiced that move.
yeah, yeah.
I'd love to
Honestly, I
see
don't
that.
know that I have that much interest in going to a restaurant like that, but
What?
hearing
You wouldn't think like, did you see that? They just
oh no,
choreographed this whole thing. Boom, boom,
that
boom,
part,
boom,
yes.
boom.
The
That would be cool.
when he's describing, I mean, the soup scene, and
Mhm.
even the code, that they
Yeah,
use.
yeah, yeah. Signaling across the
Yeah,
about
I
what kind
mean,
of water
all of
they
that
want.
was fascinating to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it wouldn't be a place that I would seek out necessarily,
Mhm.
other than that fascination. But
Hmm.
for others,
Maybe we could start a GoFundMe, Jeff, where people can donate the money. So once we get $2,000, that we can go to a really nice fine dining choreography place,
I think
and
they'd
then we
let
can
us.
report on it back here because we're
May,
such influencers.
maybe we could do context and clarity live from there.
That would be awesome.
Hey, do you mind?
That would be
We're
awesome.
just going to set a camera up here so that everybody can watch what you're talking about in the book. Yeah,
We're sure we wouldn't be the only ones.
yeah, I'll pitch that. All right, I know
I
we're
like that
past the
idea.
top of the hour. We could keep going on this for a while. This was
We
one of
could.
my favorite books for a while. Um, so what's coming up?
Next
What's coming up?
month. Next month. What's the book for next month?
I'm not going to tell you yet. I'll tell you in just a
Why?
minute.
Oh, in a
Next
minute. Okay, I
week,
can wait.
yeah, yeah. Next week on Context and Clarity Live, we will have Stuart Hicks,
Mm-hmm.
who's famous on the internet.
Is he?
You need to go to Stuart Hicks. It's StewartHicks, Stuart Hicks YouTube channel, and check out the content that he creates there. He talks about architecture. One of my favorites, I know this will surprise you, but one of my favorite videos that he did is something along the lines of what if George Costanza really was an architect?
Yeah. You love
But
George Costanza. I think
I
that's
do.
so sweet.
Yeah. But Stewart is an architect. He is an educator. Let's see. He is associate dean of physical resources and planning at the University of Illinois Chicago, um, and he creates fantastic YouTube videos that are really for general consumption. They're not necessarily videos about architecture for architects. So it's going to be fun talking to Stuart next week. So we'll have him on Context and Clarity Live. I'll post tomorrow morning about that. You tell me what you want to talk about next week, and we'll shape the week around that.
Okay.
Now, for the book club, the February book club, we will let's see, the final Friday in February is Friday, February 24th. So that'll be the book club discussion day. On Thursday, February 23rd, for Context and Clarity Live, we will be talking with Marcus Sheridan, who is the author of They Ask, You Answer. And if you've done
Mm,
anything Build Your Brand, you have heard about this book before. So
that's why
we
it sounded
will
familiar.
read They Ask, You Answer for February, and then we'll talk to the author the day before our book club discussion. The full title is They Ask, You Answer, and you're going to love this. This is just going to be a riveting, for many of you, this is going to be a riveting subtitle. A
Mm,
revolutionary approach to inbound sales, content
mm,
marketing, and
mm-hmm.
today's digital consumer.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They had me at they ask you, I answer or whatever. They didn't have to
Yeah,
go on with that one.
no. So this book, just to give you a little preview, sales pitch here, I guess. Um, this was written all the way back in 2017. I believe
Lifetime
in
ago.
today's world of SEO and algorithms and AIs, I think it is maybe even more relevant today than it was when he first wrote it. You've heard me mention the swimming pool guy from Richmond, Virginia before. This is him. Marcus Sheridan is that guy.
He literally is
Saved.
a swimming pool guy.
Do what?
He literally is the swimming pool guy from
Mhm.
Virginia.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
He and his high school buddies had started a swimming pool company. They were about to lose it, plus all of their homes because they had mortgaged their homes for the company when the economy crashed in 2008.
Mm,
And this is really the methodology that he used to save the company by marketing the company. How do we find um, how do we find people that want to build, I guess, swimming pools in the midst of the Great Recession? So it's a
hmm,
great story, but the methodology here is something that you can easily implement in your architecture firm. I'm going to say that.
okay.
If you think about educating your clients, educating consumers, they ask, you answer. It's a very functional title. So we'll read that for the month of February. I'll record a video or more
Mhm.
about it. We'll talk with the author on the 23rd, and then we'll discuss it on the 24th.
Okay.
All right. It's like
Sounds
college or something.
sounds good. Well, I wouldn't know. It was so long ago. I can't remember what that was like.
Well, I can identify with that.
30,
I know what college is like because I
40
go
years
there
ago.
and teach there. I
That's true.
don't
That's true.
know
You get a little refresher
I
all the
don't
time.
remember much about what college was like. All right, except when I'm in the classroom and they remind me. Um, Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for letting me be on and get rid of the trolls. We don't haven't had any in a long time.
Yeah, we're doing something wrong. We need to find the trolls.
I'm ready for them though. That's the good
I know.
news.
She's Catherine's lined up with her troll repellent. All right, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you for this conversation. Again, read the book if you haven't. Not they ask you to answer. Unreasonable Hospitality: The Remarkable Power of Giving People More Than They Expect by Will
I give it a
Guidara.
thumbs up. What do you? I think you're a thumbs up too. We give it 2 thumbs up, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm definitely a thumbs up on this one. There's what it looks like.
Did you read that book, or you just use it for your prompt?
This binding has never been broken.
That maintains the value of that book, so you should try not to open it.
Yeah, I'm developing a stack of books that will never be opened until I give them away. They're props, essentially.
I
Thank
thought of
you,
trying to win
Audible.
your thing. By the way, if you watch Jeff's reel and you share it with people, the person who shares it the most gets that book.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing we're going to develop too, and maybe we'll start this next month. But what I would eventually like to get to, first of all, the person that shares these videos across all these platforms, the person that shares it the most, I'm going to send you a copy
See, I don't
of
need it because I've
Unreasonable
already read the book.
Hospitality. I know. So
I
you're
could
not even
win. I feel
interested.
like I
You
would like
could.
to win it, but
Well, you should win it. Or I'll send it to whoever you want me to send it to.
oh, I like that. Okay,
How about
good idea. I like
that?
that.
And hopefully next month, what I'll do is I'll take the book and I'll note it and I'll highlight it because what I do is I go through on Audible. I use the clips feature. I'm going
Mm,
to go through and note it up to match what I've done in taking my own notes, and
really?
I'll send one copy just straight from Amazon to whoever,
Uh huh.
and then we'll have another level of the contest where I'll send you basically my annotated copy. So
Okay, Jeff. I think
we'll do
maybe
that.
you might live to regret that, but okay.
Pretty sure. All right. With that, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. As always, please be well, stay safe, keep those around you safe and well. Find a little bit of time to breathe and relax. Remember what we talked with Pandit Dasa about yesterday, and find a way to rejuvenate. Got to pace yourself. It's a long journey. Thanks for going along it with us, and see you Monday. I'll be over in the network at 8:15 or 8:30 a.m.
It's too early, Jeff.
I almost ruined my espresso. I'll be there at 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Monday for our morning mindset conversation. So see you Monday,
Excellent.
everybody. Thanks.